Well, this is awkward. I'm here, but Russell isn't answering the video call. Maybe he forgot we scheduled this and he's not at his computer. I'll try his cell.
Hello.
Hey, yo, where you at?
Dude, they're freaking yanking us around over here. I was supposed to be off this morning, but now we gotta do a whole bunch of last minute shit before we leave.
Dude, I thought this work trip shit was supposed to be over.
I know, me too. And they're all like, oh yeah, you gotta blah, 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 before we cut you loose. It's all this like hurry up and wait shit.
Oh, fuck that, dude. If we don't record today, we're gonna have to skip a week. Plus, what's-his-face is already on the way over, and this is the only day he can do it.
Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, this should be the last of it. I mean, the work trip should be over by next episode. Just like get some clown to fill in for me. Oh, yep. All right, I gotta go. Okay, yeah. Love you. Bye.
Come on, pick up. Hey, what are you doing right now?
Going to that wing place in West LA. Gonna do the hot wing challenge.
A, it's 9:30 in the morning, and B, you hate hot wings.
Yes, but if you do it, you get free hot wings for a year. And a free t-shirt.
Fuck that. Do it tomorrow. I need you to fill in for JP.
Again?
Yeah, he asked for you specifically.
Fine, I'll be there in 20.
You've got until the end of the theme song.
What?
Hi, I'm JP.
And I'm Adam.
I've never seen Lost.
I have.
I'm told that it's good.
I liked it.
I'm told that it made sense. Sort of. But we're watching it out of order.
So it definitely won't make sense.
But it might still be good. Since we won't expect it to make sense, we'll still be able to appreciate each episode on its own merits as a 1-hour story.
Sometimes 2 or 3.
As opposed to just a fraction of an ongoing, sprawling, and increasingly complex tangle of relationships, personal stories, mysteries, mythologies, experiments, social dynamics, unnatural disasters, unanswered questions, and hot tropical hookups.
Are you okay?
I'm not sure.
Because you lost me a little bit there at the end.
Well, good, because I've been lost since the beginning. We're Lost on Lost.
Welcome, everybody, to Lost on Lost. I'm Adam Busher, and I'm joined once again by some clown, Carter Wadle.
Hey, I'm some clown.
So, Carter, this is your second tour as guest host. How you feeling?
I'm wondering why JP needs so much milk and cigarettes. Is honestly the truth, but I'm happy to be back. Happy to, step in and cover when he drops the ball. I'm here to pick it up.
Certainly. How's your Lost been doing?
I've watched my
kind of like your Duolingo.
Yeah. I've watched my 3rd episode since 2005. So doing great.
Excellent. Well, I'm happy to have you here, and thank you again for filling in for old John Paul Russell.
Oh, of course.
Today we're talking about The Greater Good, the 21st episode of Season 1 and the 21st episode of Lost overall. Our centric characters, everyone's favorite lovesick human intelligence asset, Sayid Jarrah. The Greater Good takes place on the 42nd day after the crash of Oceanic Flight 815. Carter.
Yeah.
Got a recap for us?
I do got a recap for us, thanks to Hulu.
Hit it.
According to Hulu, Sayid engages Locke to uncover the truth about Boone's death. In flashbacks, we see the events that landed Sayid on the plane and how his faith and loyalty were put to the test.
Compelling.
Oh, yes. We've got a very special guest this week with us.
A very special guest.
Very special.
Excellent. What makes this guest so special?
This is his first time ever on here.
Oh, very cool. Lost on Lost fans, lolheads, please welcome to the show, Nic Thorson.
Yay.
Hey, everybody. My first time. I'm hoping I can bring some extra insight to this very fun podcast.
Yeah. I mean, you're a pretty sharp guy. You're involved in television and media and all that stuff.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes. Yeah. I work in the biz, as they say, as a production manager and line producer.
Yeah. You've been working in television for 12 years?
I've been in LA for 15 years. I'm about to hit my 15-year anniversary. Been a trip.
Yeah, I'm sure. What's been your favorite thing that you've worked on since you've been out here?
Oh, wow. Well, lately I've been doing a lot of pro wrestling shows that I'm shooting, editing, and kind of producing like backstage footage, promo material for wrestling shows. There's no money in professional wrestling unless you're working for, top tier companies. One. Yeah, exactly.
the one big one that everybody knows, and then maybe one of the secondary ones.
Yeah. So it ain't exactly a living, but I've really been enjoying it.
That's awesome.
Living the dream adjacent is what I call it.
LTDA. Perfect. What's your history with the ABC television program Lost? Have you seen it before? Did you watch it?
So I did watch it. And interestingly enough, what we're talking about right now is about the time where I was watching Lost partially out of order. The first time that I watched it. Because at the time I was in college. Mm-hmm. So The Greater Good aired on my 20th birthday.
Oh, shit.
And my roommate, shout out to Cody Stotts.
Big ups, Cody.
Yeah. He was like, you gotta watch this show Lost. And we were getting the DVDs through the mail of Netflix.
Yeah,
you
back
know?
when it was just discs.
And so he had the first season, and I think, I was like trying to catch up as the third season started airing.
Okay.
And so by the time I'm halfway through the first season, the third season started airing. And so I'm jumping into the third season, not having finished the first two seasons, but frantically trying to catch up while Cody is explaining to me what is happening in the third season.
Awesome.
I guess probably a few episodes into the third season, I did complete it as it aired.
But then you're going to be just fine on here because that's basically exactly how this works.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's Nic Thorson. We're happy to have him. You guys want to talk about Lost?
Sure.
All right. The Greater Good originally aired on May 4th, 2005. It was written by Leonard Dick and directed by David Grossman. Leonard Dick was a producer on Lost for the first two seasons. This is his only solo script, but he did share scripts with both Stephen Maeda and Javier Grillo-Marxuach. He left Lost to work on House and later also became a co-executive producer on The Good Wife. This is David Grossman's only episode of Lost, but he seems to work pretty regularly, having done episodes of Why Women Kill, Dead Like Me, 911, Revenge, and CSI. What is up with American television? Anyway, so let's talk about it. The Greater Good. Hulu messed with me a little bit because I always skip the recap. I hit skip recap. It didn't skip the whole recap. So, I had, about 10 seconds of the recap still. And so, it opened with this, part of a montage from the previous episode, just, Sayid and Shannon walking up the beach to, some sweet music and stuff like that. And I was like, this is such an odd way to open an episode. And then, it ended that. I was like, okay. The episode opens proper in the caves. Shannon is observing Boone's dead body.
Hilarious, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I actually think that, the previous episode was actually one that I've never seen before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're going to go back to episode 2 of Lost on Lost because the episode in which Boone dies is the first episode we did after the pilot. So that's why I'm laughing at Boone being dead, because this is episode 52 of Lost on Lost. And for us, he's been dead for 51 episodes.
We're getting back to it, yeah.
And we've seen Shannon die about 9 times also at this point too. So both Shannon and Boone are dead for us here on Lost, dead to us. Show of hands, do you think that where Sayid and Shannon were coming from, that they had made love to each other, on each other?
I think that in this era of network television, we're still just hinting that characters are doing the deed.
Sure. There's an episode, and I don't remember which one it is, but it's pretty explicit that Shannon and Sayid doinked. But I think it's later than this one. I want to say it's much closer to Shannon's actual death.
Oh, no, and that's why, especially when this picks up, my brain went, yeah, they were walking along the beach like they were a couple, but now I'm seeing her crying over God knows who, and him longingly look at...
So you don't understand the relationship between Shannon and Boone at all?
No.
Okay, perfect.
Well, I mean, by the end of the episode, I do,
but to
at this point, no, I'm like, oh... Okay.
Yeah, I was just curious because, I saw the two of them, and I was thinking back to myself. I don't know if they showed the two of them fucking in the last episode. A lot happened in that episode. Boone died, the baby was born, and then that was also the same day as Shannon and Sayid's first date, I think. And I was thinking to myself, did you guys get the vibe that they fucked on the first date? Because looking at that thing, I was thinking to myself, I was like, maybe they didn't. Maybe they just made out a little bit over the clothes stuff, and then just came back, They're
trapped on an island. They've got a lot of time for that.
Yeah.
They did the deal.
You think they went for it?
100%.
Kind of no time to waste. It's like,
yeah. I mean, I just think you follow those kind of clues. I don't think that a former interrogator needs to wait till the third date in his mind. You know?
Sure.
Like, I'm sure he's just ready to go.
Yeah. But yeah, so like they're staring at Boone's dead body. Ian Somerhalder did get credited for playing Boone's corpse. I'm sure he got paid for the day, which is pretty cool. But he was the first main character to die. He was the first person to die on Lost, save for all the people that died in the
No, yeah, I mean
crash.
that's a given.
Save for the 240 people that were probably on that plane and died, and the 40 that survived.
The guy that gets sucked into the jet
Yeah, that
in
guy.
the pilot? Yeah. He died.
Yeah,
he died there.
He didn't make it. But yeah, so like we just kind of like look at Sayid, looking at Shannon, looking at Boone. She's obviously distraught, or not obviously if you're Carter, because who are these people? But we cut to a flashback. Sayid is in cuffs, and he's being escorted through Heathrow Airport by 2 armed military personnel.
My first thought was, wow, we were flagrant with racial profiling in 2005, weren't we? In an airport, Middle Eastern guy being dragged through. What did he do?
Sayid is being held by both the SIS and the CIA. They've taken him to this little room, this back room at the airport. This must happen all the time. They want him to infiltrate a terrorist cell. Now, at first, this all seems very, very racist.
Yes.
And it sort of continues to remain racist throughout, but becomes less so as she explains why they picked him specifically. They have a little bit of information about his long-lost love, Noor Azim, also known as Nadia, because nobody calls her Noor. But this is why they rung him up specifically. Why they grabbed him. They lay out this like, oh, you're moving from place to place. You know, there's only one reason, or there's only 2 reasons why somebody does that. You know, they're running away from someone or looking for something.
I don't remember anything about Nadia either of this whole show. Like, I'm not sure how big of a deal she was to Sayid through the rest of the show, but like I remember scenes of him torturing people. Mm-hmm. I don't remember Nadia one bit.
Nadia appeared in 8 episodes. She was a fairly big part of Sayid's, all of his stuff. She appears in one episode where Sayid's I think it's the first episode where like he becomes a torturer. Like I think he kind of cuts his teeth torturing her.
Oh, classic love story.
Yeah, so, like,
little meet
classic
cute.
Meet cute. We were there together at the American occupied Iraqi base. And
I had the car batteries strapped to her nipples.
Yeah, she just. I saw that twinkle in her eye as she begged me not to find her family. And it was just, you know, it was a story written in the stars. This whole thing is really fucked for me. Like, I don't know how you guys, but like I was sitting watching this and I was like, man, like, yeah, hindsight and all that, but like this is fucking lame.
Yeah.
Like
the one thing that I did like was the illustration of, no, the CIA is going to hold shit over you. Because this was very much a time of USA, rah, bullshit, that they could have gone, oh, the CIA would never threaten your loved ones to try and get you to do what they want.
Yeah, this is what 3.5 years post 9/11.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very specific mentality that we're dealing with.
And this episode itself is kind of an interesting time capsule about like thoughts about the time period and like what media was like then.
Racism, terrorism, all fine. They definitely did not want to show, as you put it, the doinking in the previous episode.
That's too much for the American people.
Later on, we get some very tasteful implied broadcast television nudity when Elizabeth Mitchell makes her way to town, which is just fine.
Also, when Kate doinks that sexy Cajun.
Sexy Cajun?
I don't know his name anymore. Long hair.
Sayid?
Sawyer.
Sayid's not Cajun.
No.
Sawyer.
I thought,
But Kate also doesn't doink Sayid.
I thought you were making a joke like Cajun, like they were in the cages. I'm gonna give me some of that Cajun love.
I mean, they are in cages when they do it, but...
Does Sawyer sound like Gambit to you?
Little bit.
Oh, mon chéri.
Yeah. All of my notes have him as sexy Cajun.
The 2003 Chevy Challenger comes with the 4.4 liter powertrain, baby. I don't know if that's
Monami.
I don't know if that's a Cajun accent at all, but whatever.
Whatever.
Okay, so the terrorist cell is in Sydney, and so they're gonna go to Sydney and have Sayid infiltrate this terrorist cell.
Finding out, he was a part of the Iraqi Republican Guard. I'm like, that makes more sense as opposed to just, how's this random dude gonna successfully infiltrate a terror cell?
Right. We, the SIS and the CIA, are very lucky that not only does his ex-girlfriend have travel in terrorist circles, but also his former roommate potentially travel in terrorist circles. But then he also wasn't like a painter-decorator.
Yeah.
Back in the University of Cairo. 2 good-looking men. I'm sure they were killing it over at the U of C.
Exactly. We come back to the jungle. Kate is tailing somebody. And lo and behold, Jack does wander out of the rainy foliage.
Like a madman.
Just drenched, pale.
Looking gross.
Yeah, just
Straight up gross,
yeah,
honestly.
just like slimy. Like,
Yeah.
really, like, you would never believe, based on the first couple minutes of this episode, that he's supposed to be like the big hero.
Yeah, and she's immediately just like, you need to rest, you need to sleep. And I was like, yeah, definitely that. I don't know what's going on, but I can tell that.
Yeah,
For sure. Kate is right.
He's looking for Locke. He's mad that Locke lied to him about Boone's injury. Kate is like, you gotta go back. And then
Then they go back.
That's it. I'm thinking back and I was like, oh, this was like really nothing seen. We didn't really have to talk about that too much.
But it does cut directly to the burial.
Yeah, it cuts continuous to the beach, to Boone's funeral.
It's funny that, like, when Kate wants to go back, then they get to go back. But when Jack wants to go back, she's like, absolutely not.
I did like next, though, that Sayid is the one who steps up and is like, I can give a good eulogy. I've got
this
the
is-
skill set.
This is the worst funeral I've ever seen.
I was just about to say, we've all been to at least one funeral in our lives. This has got to be the worst funeral that I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, not only like the awkwardness of like, hey, who's gonna give the eulogy? Shannon, you knew him best. No.
She just starts crying.
Hey, dude, who's boinking Shannon? What about you?
And he starts out like, I didn't know Boone well, but, and I was like, are you going to say I was doinking his sister as he was slowly drifting to the dark blackness of death? Yeah. And then this is actually the one thing that I looked up because I was so thrown by his eulogy because he's like, hey, this other person, remember like day 6, she died and he jumped in the water to save her. Yeah. And I was like, who is this? Is he talking about somebody that I should remember? Absolutely not. No. This character is never, ever seen.
I don't even think you really see her all that well when she dies. I think she's just like an arm out in the ocean.
Oh, I was trying
in the episode that they're talking about? Yeah. Boone isn't even the first person to die post-plane crash. I mean, they kill Edward Mars, and then Joanna drowns, and then, so he just has the honor of being the first person to die after the plane crash that we care about.
Yeah.
Not even the first burial, because I was going to say they didn't get to bury Joanna because she drowned and they never recovered the body. But they buried Edward Mars somewhere. Mm-hmm. So not even their first burial, not their first funeral, whatever. I guess their first hot person to die. So
their first CW burial.
What does that mean?
CW casts are young and gorgeous, and he's a young, gorgeous death.
Yeah, they do talk about how brave he was. And I guess, you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, but they would have more material to pull from if people were willing to talk about how much of an idiot he was.
Oh, yeah. It's weird how they seem to confuse bravery with just being an idiot with a death wish. Right? Just stupidly doing dangerous things that were unnecessary.
So they give say it gives an okay eulogy. It's better than no eulogy, Yeah. But then
JP's sweet baby John Locke rolls in.
Immediately. Yeah. John Locke from
drenched in blood.
Boone's blood.
Yeah. And he doesn't step up and go hey guys. This was my fault. He shouts from 25 feet away. Yep. It's me. I did it. Sorry, y'all.
My bad.
My bad.
Really should have thought about that one a little bit clearer, I guess. But my leg hurt at the time.
At least from the start, it sounds like Jack spent trying to track him for like a day or two. You didn't have time to throw your shirt in a creek and get the blood off of that? Because
No, it was minutes. He was tracking him for minutes. So yeah, the show made it seem like he was tracking him for like a lot longer, but it was like not that long.
that
like an hour at the most.
All right. Then I'm better on that.
Yeah.
He's out of breath and tired from like a little jaunt.
Yeah.
It's enough to make Jack snap.
Yeah, Jack's like, you son of a bitch. And this is another thing. Okay, so Jack's wildly out of breath. He needs a nap. He's slimy. And he's, like you stated, Locke's 20 yards away. Jack gets whatever he's got left and puts in a sprint and a tackle. And Locke just like he sees him coming. like you could have dodged, or anybody else could have stopped Jack. He's got no power right now. He's like,
that's why Locke didn't dodge it. He's like, this ain't good. Let him get it out. This ain't gonna.
I got this coming, I guess. So let him tire himself out like a toddler.
The weirdest point to me though is that right after that, title sequence hits. This is all cold open.
Yep.
For a modern show. No cold open would go on this long. You got a minute and a half tops.
It's like it's like 7 minutes.
Your memory kind of changes to make things a little bit more modern, or changes to something that you've heard a bunch of times. When I'm thinking of The Lost, like I'm thinking of like the modern trailer sound that we always hear.
Yeah.
This is way more trumpet with a little plunger than I was prepared for. And I just cracked up and I was like, wow, that is not the sound that I remember hearing over and over and over for 6 years at all.
Jack collapses, and then like he's being tended to. He tells Kate and Sayid about Boone's like sort of mumblings as he was dying. Something about like Locke doesn't want me to tell anybody. The hatch, blah 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 blah. Cut to a flashback. It's a mosque. We assuming that this is Sydney now. Sayid's hot roommate at this thing, like
beautiful eyes.
I did wonder though when they cut to it and it's mid ceremony or mid service. I'm saying back going, this is 2005. How accurate to an Islamic service? Like just because my brain is going, oh, if you could literally just be saying all the cliche things that would never be in a actual Islamic.
All the phrases that non-Muslims know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like this is prayer. But yeah, Said's friend notices him while they're at prayer. Catches up with him after prayers, and they're like, "Hey man, they're hugging it out, kissing on the cheek, all that stuff." It's like, we should catch up. Hey, how's your girl? Oh, she's dead. Not bad. We should hang out anyway. Yeah, let's make this not awkward.
Come meet my incel roommates.
Yeah, they go to his apartment. They're just like drinking beer, eating pizza, playing, I think it was Half-Life.
Just smoking up that room.
That is like real classic, like backstory of like they killed my love.
Oh yeah. They, the big they, capital T. But yeah, like that's sort of the vibe here is that like they're hanging out. Assam is Said's friend. His roommates are kind of like, who's this guy? And he's like, oh, this is my dude Sayid. And he's like, oh, this is the best we can afford. It's like it sort of lays that foundation of like, oh, these guys have a chip, these guys have an axe to grind, something like that. And it's not just like a specific, like, oh, I got fired.
They do say that Sydney is expensive, and I did look it up, and the cost of living is about 10% higher than it is in LA. So,
oh wow,
I can say that, it's pretty expensive.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
They're chatting and stuff like that. Oh, but the smoke is an issue here because like Sayid notices that the smoke detector is not going off, despite the fact that these guys are just like sucking down darts.
Which did make me wonder, how dumb are the people? Like, how long has that been in there? And how dumb are these people? Like, oh, that we've lived here for 6 months and the fire alarm's never gone off.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing: it's 2023, and like in America, you can't smoke inside most places anymore, and you just make the assumption that you're not supposed to smoke inside places. So like I have a hard time thinking about it, but like even back when this show was on the air in college, when I used to smoke, I wouldn't try to smoke inside because my apartment had a smoke detector. I wouldn't even try it.
And they're literally like 6 feet. from
if
that smoke
he's
detector.
damn near right underneath the thing.
Yeah.
It's a wild thing to have happen. But then, so like Sayid's like, oh look, it's not going off, and he brings the cigarette, he puts it right by, then he like opens it up and finds a bug, and he's like, yeah, man.
And he threw the bug in the guy's drink. Which like the guy was mad, and I was like, yeah, he's probably mad that he ruined this dude's drink.
Threw this piece of filthy electronics in my beer.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I don't think it was beer. It had some sort of carbonation, it seemed.
Because I thought it was kind of out of character for like these guys are supposed to be like fundamentalists, terrorists, whatever. Generally, they adhere to the more orthodox parts of religion. No drinking, no smoking, no sex. And so like I thought to myself, like, this is weird for these just to be smoking.
Maybe it's a little hidden note on like these characters in particular are hypocritical, right? Following the rules that they want to.
Yeah, maybe. Could have been ginger ale too, I guess.
Could have been ginger ale.
No.
We're like judging these based on a vaguely
knowledge of
brown carbonated beverage.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I just assumed it was beer because they were smoking cigarettes. Because for me, it's like I would have to be.
Well, and they're in big glass steins too.
So, and pizza, I don't know. And video games, just Assam tries to establish his bona fides to his buddies, and he proves it by pulling this bug out of the smoke detector. And he's like, "You guys are being listened to. Use your heads or whatever."
Which they clearly don't, as I go watching through this episode, just in how they talk about bombings and stuff in wide open public places.
I mean, and the other thing too is obviously the CIA told him that bug was there.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably would have found it anyway, but they're like, hey, in order to ingratiate yourself with them,
we put this in here.
Find our listening device, and that'll do a lot of goodwill building for you in the group.
The agents told Sayid that they're pretty sure that they have like a certain amount of C4, like a certain amount of C4 has gone missing.
Of C4, yeah. Go back to the beach. Son and Charlie are trying to get Claire to rest.
A lot of people in this episode not getting enough sleep is what I'm. Jack doesn't get enough sleep. Claire doesn't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that later on. They're like, "Oh man, Claire's gone crazy." And I watched this episode. I was like, Claire was always
a little unhinged.
pretty unhinged.
Yeah.
Like this, you could at least chalk up to she just had a baby. She's a little postpartum.
You would never believe that she had just had a baby based on the size of that baby.
No.
Like that was the only thing I wrote down. It was like in all caps, that is not a newborn baby. The baby's head was the size of like a basketball. It's like, that's not a fucking newborn. Don't give me that shit. Charlie's like, let me watch the baby, take a nap. Nobody's going to take the baby. It'll be fine. Here on Lost and Lost, we haven't yet seen the episode in which Charlie's a baby napper, but he has been accused of being a baby napper several times by other characters. So I just thought those were bold words coming from a future baby napper. Continues on the beach. Shannon's just sitting by herself, and Locke walks up and is like, hey.
Sorry about your brother, man.
Sorry I killed your brother or whatever. Here's his backpack. I didn't look in it.
Still, by the way, drenched in that blood.
Oh, God, yeah. And the hours have passed, I think, at this point, it's safe to say.
It's either hours or all of this has happened in real time. And we're like, it's been 15 minutes since the funeral.
One thing I did notice in this scene that I ended up noticing every time I see her talk, fucking Shannon's is so heavily 80-yard in this thing. Like the rest of them match pretty solid, but hers, the voice is not matching what I'm seeing her face doing.
I think it's especially bad whenever they try to shoot dialogue near the
water.
Near the water, yeah. And I think Maggie Grace, especially compared to some of the other actors, has a softer voice, and I'm sure they just got lost.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he says during this, he's like, I hope you can forgive me for my part in this.
Yeah, the forgiveness is not a big trait of any of the characters on this show.
Very big on holding grudges. Continues on to the caves. Shannon finds Sayid, and she's like, I need you to do something.
Yeah. Very,
that's not a veiled threat. She wants John Locke dead.
Like violence. Very vague.
Do something about John Locke. Okay, like I know she's in shock and stuff, and we don't know a ton about Shannon, like, so I can't necessarily say if this is like on a character for her or something, but I feel like it probably is, because she's just like, hey, I know we like either just had sex or probably just had sex or made out and did some over the pants stuff recently. Can you fucking murder this guy for me?
Yeah, I've had stranger requests.
What? What? I feel like that's its own podcast, is what are Nick's strange requests.
Continues on to the beach. Kate is tending to Jack. She's like, here, drink this juice. You're going to be okay. He's like, I can't. I got stuff to do, doctor business, whatever. And then he tries to get up, and he's like, oh, wait a minute.
This is when Kate's doing some of her shady shit for good. Usually
Did this happen in I Do? Didn't she drug her husband in I Do? Carter's first appearance on Lost on Lost?
Yes.
She
But just,
fucking
I ground up sleeping pills and put it in your juice.
Man, so like this is on brand for Kate, just like straight up drugging people. Like,
It's also on brand for Jack, is just like not listening to anybody.
I'm the doctor.
Yeah, not really a great leader at all. Just kind of being a nuisance through this whole episode.
Yeah, just like, what's the best thing you can do as a leader? Fly off the handle. No. Let's review.
Get an appropriate amount of rest so you can look at this logically. No, I don't need to do that.
And Kate also being like, we need you to rest because we need your leadership. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You need him to rest because you need a doctor on site, sure.
Yeah. While he's asleep, Hurley's leadership will be just fine.
Yeah. Improvement.
In fact, better. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so she puts some pills in his juice, and he's going night-night. Cut to the caves. Locke's finally washing up.
Thank God.
In the drinking water. The entire reason they moved to the caves was to have a source of fresh water to drink. And Locke's just rinsing Boone's blood off in it. You fucking dork. The next thing that happens is Sayid approaches Head. He's just like, hey man, remember that plane you were talking about? The Beechcraft? Maybe there's parts in radio we could salvage. Why don't you take me out there? Locke's like,
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
He also like points out his scar. He's like, where'd you get that? He's like, a war wound. He's like, it looks surgical. It's a war wound.
Like I said, a war wound. It's like, dude, just say like, dude, I'm missing a kidney. Like I donated a kidney. Like
I had my appendix out.
Yeah, like the unnecessary sarcastic, oh, it's a war wound. It was an emotional war in this emotional war that I fought with my stepfather. Shut up, dude. Like
stolen valor.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sayid was in a war. And yeah, maybe Locke doesn't know that, but what the fuck, dude? I know that his relationship with Anthony Cooper is contentious and all that, and like there's a lot of bullshit that happened there. And in a lot of ways, Locke is the victim, and I don't want to do victim blaming, even though Locke is being annoying here. But yeah, just like we're here 40 days in, we're still getting to know each other. Mm-hmm. Maybe let those walls down a little bit,
Especially for something innocuous when everyone thinks you just murdered someone.
Yeah, like maybe build some goodwill by being open and honest.
Because everyone's, again, guard is up. Sayid doesn't think there's any plane. Sayid clearly thinks John Locke somehow killed this man.
Yeah, and even if he didn't murder him or whatever, he's still responsible.
Yeah.
So they go to the jungle. They're out there. They're verbally sparring a little bit, like the interrogator versus the liar type of thing, like going on.
Oh, by the way, they immediately cut to this scene of them walking through the jungle, and Locke is wearing a brown shirt. He was wearing the bloody white shirt, and then he washes the bloody white shirt. Yeah. And then he just changed it into a different shirt. You couldn't have done that sooner? You didn't have time to put on that brown shirt earlier?
Go to your tent and change. And then do your laundry later when other shit's not going on. They arrive at the plane. Somewhere along the line in here, Sayid's like, no, I think there is a plane. If he starts to believe the story. He doesn't trust Locke, but he's starting to believe a certain amount of whatever. Cut to a flashback. Assam and Sayid discuss their terrorist plot in broad daylight in public.
Yeah.
While playing
with
soccer.
And it's like the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the
Sydney Opera House.
The Sydney Opera House is visible no matter where you are in Sydney.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I was looking at that and I was just like, man, nice work. Green screening the Sydney skyline around this grove of trees in what is clearly a park in Honolulu. But I guess you gotta make do. Assam is going to be a martyr for the cause. He's gotten the word from the leader of the cell, Haddad, but he doesn't think that he has the courage to follow through. So we cut to Sayid talking to his handlers, and he's like, I think I can get my buddy out of this. He's not a true believer. He's a lot on the fence. Like, this is whatever. Like, let me get this guy out. And they're like, nah, fuck all that.
We need him to blow shit up. Which again, for this time, showing the CIA going, no. we need him to blow
Well,
it up.
they need him to get the bomb. They don't want him to actually go through with the attack, but they do need him to get the bomb because in their mind, stopping the attack is more important.
Yeah,
they say like these things are all cellularized and everything like that. We have no hope of getting to like the big thing right now. Our only goal is event prevention.
Yeah,
if we can stop the bombing, that's a victory. So they're like, you got to let him get the bomb, and that's. I was like, okay, so yeah, so like he's gonna be arrested. Like,
and honestly, that logic is sound because if he doesn't do it, somebody else will, and this whole operation is just for nothing.
Right. So you got to get the C4. They threaten Nadia. They're like, oh, well, if you don't go through this, we'll just arrest her.
And she's done nothing as far as I know.
Which is bad.
Yeah. That's where, again, the CIA is made to look not great. Made to look accurate.
They aren't great.
But we do cut back to the beach and Charlie can't get Turnip Head to stop crying.
She's just like walking up and down the beach singing to the baby. Hurley's like, hey, man, those aren't the words. It's like, oh, that was the problem. But then so Hurley tries singing, was it James Brown?
James Brown.
Yeah.
Which, let's scream at this child. That'll make things better. Oh, I'm out of ideas, bro. Okay, your idea sucked. I'm glad you're out of them.
I was like, this is funny. It arguably made things worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we cut on back to the jungle. Locke and Sayid are at the beach crap. They find some heroin.
This was the only part that I did remember from my original watch through, and I wrote down, don't let the Hobbit see that heroin.
Yeah.
All those little Virgin Mary statues ain't gonna...
That's a shitload of heroin.
Yeah,
we've established that there's a shitload of heroin on this island.
And again, like Locke being like the fake tracker that he is, he's like, oh yeah, we found this plane full of little statues of the Virgin Mary filled with heroin. I think, from what I can tell, possibly these people were smugglers. And it's like, oh yeah, no kid. Way to jump to conclusions there, John. Like how you know this wasn't a legit heroin moving operation.
This is a perfectly fine CIA sanctioned heroin ring. It's all fine. What about second heroin? Saeed's like, I'm gonna go check out the radio. They chat a little bit more, some more verbal sparring. But then Sayid is like, oh, hey, FYI, here's the reason why I don't trust you. You have a gun that you didn't tell anybody about.
Locke has a Glock.
Again, I think Locke does a pretty good job here of playing his game. He's just like, he gives him the gun. Maybe he doesn't trust Sayid or anything, but he also doesn't believe that Saeed's just going to shoot him. So he's just like, here's the gun. I found it with a body, probably from this smuggler's plane.
I do have to do the JP part of pointing out a gun inaccuracy. Sayid has the gun.
Yep.
Fucking pointed at him is like, give me the information. And it had to have been a network note because all of a sudden you hear a click.
Yeah, he cocks the hammer.
It's like, there's no hammer to cock on that gun. You've seen the back of it and it's flat already.
Locke doesn't have a hammer. That's right.
Yeah. See, you don't need JP every week.
Also, Sayid takes the gun from John Locke and then has the nerve to point it at John Locke. And John Locke is like, oh shoot, you know what? I had a really good joke and now I just lost it. Maybe you guys can just cut that out because it's not a good. I can't remember. I can't remember my joke anymore.
Sometimes it helps to write those things down.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I had it. No, you know what? I came up with it while we were sitting here.
Oh yeah.
And
like that second heroin joke that I just did. I just thought of that now.
Oh, all right. John Locke is like, hey, that's not your gun. That's Chekhov's gun. That's my joke. That was worth the wait, huh?
Absolutely.
Oh, man. I couldn't come up with that.
Well, here we are.
Locke also here gives him a piece of. He's like, oh, I told you a couple things that you knew. Here's something you don't know. Way back in the day when you were trying to do your transceiver thing, you got hammered by an unknown person and your little radio got broke. That was me. So he's like, what the fuck?
This is not how you ingratiate someone who's got a gun pointed at you.
You just handed me a gun.
Right. And, then
Now you're handing me
and you told
the
me,
ammunition,
and then you admitted to
essentially.
be the guy who did the thing that, like, I'm probably the most pissed about over the past 5 weeks. You get the idea. It's like, okay, Locke has no vested interest in getting off the island. Everybody else does. He's like, you guys are so focused on getting off the island, you're not thinking about the big picture. It's like, what is Locke's big picture? Just live here forever? In this part, Sayid also asks more about the hatch, and Locke lies. He's like, hey, Boone said something about the hatch. He's like, oh, plane's got 2 hatches.
One at the front, one at the back.
Could have been either one of them, don't you see?
And Sayid has already said, like, I know when you're lying.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut to a flashback.
Again, it's more openly talking
Yeah.
bombing in a daylight public place with people 6 feet away from him, really.
Yeah, and Sayid's just working Assam. He's trying to build up his courage, he's focused on, like, he's very, very worried about Nadia being caught up in whatever, so he's, like, willing to put Assam's life on the line to get to Nadia. Assam has objections. His objections of it to the thing are not necessarily about his convictions of the cause or his belief that, you know, he is actually, like, protesting something important or whatever. Like, he doesn't want innocent people to die. Like, he has, you know,
Every
a
life
conscience.
is sacred.
Right, he's got a conscience there.
They make him out to be the most noble of terrorists.
Right. Maybe trying to create some nuance back in 2004 in the conversation. I don't know. But Sayid agrees to martyr with Assam to get him to go through it. He's like, hey, I lost my girl too, man. So I know what you're going through. Like,
We'll do this together.
my girlfriend died, man, and, like, I'm really broke up about it. No, I just broke up with my girlfriend too, man. I know what you're going through. We'll come back to the beach. Shannon is going through Boone's bag. Sayid comes up and sort of gives her the skinny on her little bounty. He's like, okay, like, yeah, Locke's full of shit, but, like, he didn't kill Boone. Like, it was an accident, so, like, I'm not gonna kill Locke. And she's like, you fucking pussy. And then she, like, runs away. She's like, whatever, forget it.
No more over the pants handy for you.
Exactly. Cut to the raft construction area. Walt and Michael and Jin are working on the new raft. Walt is clearly shook up about Boone's death. He and Michael are talking about, like, oh, you know, what's going to happen on the raft? What about sharks? We're not going to die. It's like, well, Boone died. It's like, so the kid's messed up about it too, which I think is perfectly fine. While they're just chatting, Charlie comes up with Onion Head.
Turnip head.
Whatever.
Excuse me.
You have a child. You must know how to silence this thing.
Yeah, right? I need to find Son. Like, Charlie knows Jin doesn't speak English. Like, everybody knows it. Everybody knows Jin doesn't speak English.
He said good.
He's picking up, yes,
good.
but, like, he doesn't speak
Yeah.
English. Like, hey, where's Son? It's like, also, a couple of days ago, they just had this huge public fight about the bikini and her speaking. You fucking idiot. Whatever. Sawyer walks up and he's like, "Babe, shut that baby up."
I'm a sexy Cajun.
Yeah.
Voulez-vous?
Mon ami, why don't you shut that baby up before I make him into a crawdad or whatever?
And it works. It shuts the baby up.
Yeah, the baby is soothed by the sound of Sawyer's voice. And so this actually leads to kind of like a funny little visual gag where
Stop following
Sawyer
me.
wanders, and Charlie just, like, excitedly walks after him. Like, so that was kind of funny. Cut to the beach. Jack wakes up. This is another funny thing. Here, I made you some soup. What's in it? Chloroform?
I did wonder, how long has Kate been sitting there watching him sleep?
She must not have been.
Yeah.
Because he is, like, dealing with the soup, and then he realizes that the key that he's been wearing around his neck is missing. So, like, Kate must have drugged him and then just be like, well, he's not going anywhere.
Immediately knows that the key is. So I didn't remember that he had this key around his neck.
Sure.
I was just thinking, you know, maybe the key was like hanging on his little hut or something,
sure.
right? It was funny to me that he was just like, the key's gone.
Yeah.
Immediately upon waking up from a drugged stupor is so sharp on it. Yeah.
Absolutely stunning, because it takes me about 15 minutes of just, like, wandering around my apartment after waking up from not drugged sleep to be like, oh, right, I live in Burbank.
And now, like, with it, knowing that it was around his neck, like nobody went like, oh, well, maybe you dropped it while you were tackling fools
Yeah,
on the beach.
why don't we retrace your step? Let's go over to Boone's gravesite and look 15 feet away.
Immediately foul play.
Then he also immediately jumps to Locke, who we haven't really seen around the camp
Right, he's been
at all
the entire day.
And if anyone's going to be watching to make sure Locke doesn't get near Jack, it's right now.
All of a sudden, some pretty bold assumptions are being made. But yeah, the key's gone. Shannon took it, and she goes to go get a gun out of the Zero Halliburton gun case. She's not supposed to know where this case is, hypothetically, which I was wondering to myself, and I looked at Lostpedia to confirm it. But I was like, at this point, the only people that are supposed to know where the guns are like Jack and I think Kate, Sayid, and Locke. I think they're the only four who are supposed to know where the case is. So I was like, how'd Shannon figure this out?
She sexted out of Sayid.
Yeah, while she was giving her that over-the-pants handy, she was like, is there any important information that I need to know? And he's like, well,
there's a gun cased in the forest.
Oh, man, the listener, I wish you could have seen the face Carter was making while he was doing that voice.
Well, and I think it's Sayid that comes up right away and it's like, no, it's not. It's not Locke, it's Kate.
Right.
It's
Shannon.
Shannon.
Yeah, he's like, this is one of those things that, like, information that should be shared. She asked me earlier today to kill Locke because she thought that he killed Boone. And I probably should have told somebody, but I didn't say anything about it till just now. We have a commercial, and then we cut back to a flashback. It's time for the attack. Sayid comes out of a building, and Haddad just pulls up the van. It's like, hey, it's go time. Let's go.
When the van pulled up, I thought it was the CIA coming to swipe him.
Yeah.
Like, that felt like a very CIA move as opposed to...
Yeah, like, they're going to jump on, like, hey, we missed it. They're like, it's already going. We got to go. Like, but no, Haddad pulls up and brings Assam and Sayid to the location. There's a box truck filled with C4. Basically all of it. I think it's got to be all of it, right? Like, that's a lot of C4. Haddad gives him a pistol as well. He's like, hey, if something goes wrong, shoot your way out, I guess. Or
with this one pistol?
He bails. Assam and Sayid get in the truck, and they're like, all right, man. Sayid's like, hey, jig's up. The CIA wanted me to find this bomb. Like, you bail. Like, 10 minutes, man. Just run.
At the end of the day, he's, like, not getting away. No. But... you know, maybe at this point you could argue that he was not going through with this plan, right? Like, he bailed on the plan.
Yeah.
He could at least have turned into an informant himself.
Right.
But Sayid tells him that he's like, hey, here's the scoop. My girlfriend's not dead. She's just missing, and the CIA was going to help me find her if I helped them get this bomb. Assam's like, that's fucked up, dude. And he kills himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut back to the jungle. Kate and Jack and Sayid are looking for Shannon. Jack collapses, and Kate, like, tries to help him up, and Sayid runs on. He finds Shannon. Shannon has Locke at gunpoint. Kate and Jack then catch up. They try and defuse the situation. It's like, hey, you know, it's fine. Like, it's just chill. Like, come on, you don't want to do this. You know, what is Sayid says something like, if you do this, you can't undo it. But you can see him slowly start to, like, slide toward her as she's, like, staring down Locke. And then he tackles her just as she pulls the trigger and wings John Locke in the forehead. I kind of didn't write any more notes other than that because, like, Shannon almost just fucking shot Locke in the face.
Yeah.
We don't do too much what if on the show, but, like, man, what if Shannon just, like, shot Locke in the face and he was, like, dead?
There's no jail on this island. What do you
do? Like, if Sayid didn't tackle her in time, and they're like, well, Shannon, you can't just go around killing Locke, and then what do they do? Like, just like, hey, no more gun privileges for Shannon. Like, she doesn't get to touch the guns anymore.
You wouldn't necessarily execute her.
Right. It's like, well, you killed Locke.
You would kind of build, like,
would you?
Do you build a cage in the caves?
Like probation, like constant like, surveillance.
You're on house arrest, but your house is this island. So like,
so nothing for your life has changed.
That was Buckwild.
Banishment.
Yeah, exile.
Old school exile.
Go live with Rousseau.
They do end on a happy note with sitting around. Sexy Cajun reading.
Oh yeah, we cut from here. We cut to the beach. Yeah, Charlie and Sawyer are reading to the baby. Yeah, Sawyer's reading out of like a car and driver, just like this, like the ad copy for like some sort of muscle car. And Claire comes up and he's like, "Shut up!" Like Sawyer's reading to the baby, and Sawyer's like incredibly patient here. This is not something I would have thought Sawyer would have done, but it is self-serving because he doesn't want to listen to the baby cry. So it's like, okay, I buy that. But then like, how long was he reading to this baby?
Also, how long has Claire been asleep?
Weeks.
Like, how much time has happened in this episode?
That same night, Kate comforts Sayid, because Sayid needs comforting. Shannon's brother just died.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like yesterday. And Sayid's the one who needs comforting because...
Well, it's his episode.
Yeah, but...
yeah.
His flashbacks are going on right now.
Kate's like, I know you're going through a lot of shit remembering the time that Sam killed himself in front of you, so like, I'm gonna rub your back and just be with you.
Yeah.
He almost saw John Locke get shot in the face.
Which I don't think would have bothered him that much.
No,
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, probably not.
Do you want me to grind up some sleeping pills and put them in your juice?
Yeah. Kate's like, oh, you don't look like you're feeling that great. Would you like to take a drug-induced nap? Will that make you feel better? Because that's the one thing I'm good at.
That making things go boom.
Oh, Boise. After the Sayid comforting thing, we cut to a flashback. Sayid, they give him the flight. He's like, hey, yeah, your girlfriend lives in Irvine. Here's a flight 2 hours from now or go. And then they're like, what's going to happen to Assam? We're going to cremate him. He's like, Muslim men are supposed to be buried. He's like, well, we're not doing that. Nobody knows. He's like, I will claim the body. Put me on tomorrow's flight. And so, like, this is how Sayid ends up on 815, by tending to Assam's body. If he wouldn't have dealt with that, if he would have just went after Nadia right away, he never would have ended up on the island. This is the type of thing that I would have preferred to see when we're finding out how people get on the plane. And we get some of these here and there. Like, we find out how Locke got on A15 because he got sent back from his walkabout. We find out how Sawyer ended up on A15 because he got arrested and deported and shit like that.
When we go to these things, it's always involuntary.
Yeah.
In some way or another.
Yeah. And that's what I like to say. I'm happy to see people involuntarily being happenstance forced onto A15, which I think is neat. So he made a decision to do right by his friend. We come back to the caves. John Locke is tending to his forehead wound. He got a light, man. And Sayid comes up and he's like, yeah, that was really cute earlier about there might be a hatch on either end of the plane, but like,
Where's the hatch?
Cut the shit.
No more lies.
Knock it off.
I still have that gun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we're doing this.
And that's it. And that's the greater good.
The greater good.
Did we like it? Was it good? That's the question we're trying to figure out. Nick, kick it off.
This felt like more like a follow-up. Like, we're transitioning from the last episode was dramatic. Now we're transitioning to, like, the hatch part of this season.
Sure.
It was, I think, a transitional episode. Does that make it bad? Not necessarily. You kind of have to have those in these lengthy seasons. This episode didn't excite me terribly, though.
Sure. Okay. Give it a meh.
Yeah. Meh.
Carts?
I'm gonna agree with the meh, just because it seemed like the flashback and the current were both too intense, where I would have liked a little more dichotomy between the two.
Sure.
No, these are both very intense things and should perhaps be more focused on individually. Like Sayid's backstory.
Like, it would have been nice to have like a gradient, like the A plot be really
Yeah.
heavy and then the B plot be less so heavy and then the C plot be
Yes.
fairly lighthearted.
And I didn't think we needed the baby bit.
That wasn't even like a C plot. That was like a D plot. It's
Yeah.
like we have an A plot, a B plot, and then a D plot.
Yeah, exactly. The C plot is trying to get Jack to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, Adam, what did you think of this? What's your thoughts?
I didn't like this. I don't necessarily know if it's the episode. I think I got distracted by the content of it. The terrorism, the post 9/11 CIA covert intelligence bombing plot, globe-trotting stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I was sitting there, I was thinking, like, this is like dime store Homeland. This is like Homeland at its worst. I didn't like Homeland at its worst.
Yeah.
I loved Homeland at its best, but that's also a show about that. Like, Lost is not about that. Yeah, this is just way too heavy of a thing, and you're not going to handle it with enough nuance to really be useful or meaningful to me as a television viewer. And so, like, it just screams of like, hey, it's 2004. Don't forget Iraq.
Terrorists.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I would say no. I did not like it. That doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
I think that the D plot is like so meaningless. Yeah, transitional. That's a good word for it too. Because I know what happens before this. I know where we're headed from here. This kind of felt like, hey, heads up, we're heading into the end of the season. So this is the last we're dealing with any of like the soap opera over the pants jerk-offs and interpersonal stuff. We're wrapping it up now.
Yeah.
It's hatch time. This
It's about to
we
get real.
we spent 15 episodes talking about the hatch. It's hatch time.
Even that baby plot line is just it. Even that is transitional to get us a little bit more invested in the Charlie Claire relationship.
No doubt.
He's trying to be a good guy and let her get some sleep and watch the kid. And
All right, cool. Well, there we go then. Kind of a mixed bag on that. Then let's get into the next part of it. The lost MVP, our favorite character of the episode. Who was doing the heavy lifting? Who made us smile? Who made us happy? Who made everybody happy? Nick, why don't you kick it off? Lost MVP.
Oh man. This is a real tough one for me on this episode. Obviously, Sayid centric. I was leaning Sayid, but let me tell you why. Let me tell you why Sayid gets knocked off the list.
Okay.
And that is because this episode came out on my 20th birthday. I am now 37 and 255 days old. Which makes me 77 days older than Naveen Andrews when this episode came out.
Okay.
And that's just like a little tough pill to swallow. And so
Naveen Andrews was almost 40 when he was on Lost. He was 37 years old.
it's 37. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
If my math is all
that
correct,
is a
which
tough
is
pill to swallow.
it's possibility if it's that it's not.
Actually, because of how hot and not 40 he looks.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
If you had told me he was early 30s, I'd be like, okay,
Yeah,
I get that.
31,
You know,
I'd be like, oh, yeah, he looks...
he's lived a life. He's
Yeah.
done some things, but he ain't got any gray in there. He ain't got
The
any...
character is actually 40 according to
Lostpedia.
Lostpedia. So I will say that the MVP is Sawyer for getting that baby to stop crying. He's
I like it.
he's the one person who improved the situation
Sure.
on the island that
Yep.
day.
Yep,
The only one.
that's fair. Yep, that's
I
true.
have to respectfully disagree with you there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right. So then Carter, who's your MVP then? Who made...
Well, again, like Nick said, very Sayid heavy episode, but it was
Yeah.
heavy. It was dark,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you had to see him do some sketchy, shady shit. My lost MVP is Kate for fucking drugging Jack, so I didn't have to deal. The entire time I'm watching him, I'm like, you whiny, petulant little bitch of a child who is nothing. Thank God Kate drugged you and put you to sleep so we could take 20 minutes away from dealing with Jack.
That's fair. Yeah. No,
You know, and
very
that
fair.
again, that improved the situation for everyone else
for
on
the
the
audience
island.
especially, so we don't have to put up with Jack for half the episode.
But Adam, who's your lost MVP?
I am going to go ahead and give it to Sayid. Throughout both the flashbacks and the main plot, he was doing his best pragmatism, like trying to do the smartest move, not just for himself, but like for the
Greater good.
in the flashbacks.
The greater
it was,
good.
Right, exactly, the greater good. In the flashbacks, yes, it was very self-serving, but it had good symptoms. It's like, yes, he's doing it because he's trying to get information on Nadia, but it will save lives. And then, in the island plot, trying to figure out what Locke's deal is and try to sweep away some of the secrecy around his nonsense and all that. So, yeah. So I'm going to give it to Sayid. But for every yin, there's a yang. For every good, there's a bad. For every time, there's a season. Every rose has its thorn, etc. Lost Forever. Who is our least favorite character of the episode? Who made things worse by their presence? Who is out here? Out here just fucking up. Nick.
Boone spent the whole episode dead.
This is true.
So that was kind of not that cool of him. But But I mean, it's obviously Jack, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's supposed to be the leader. He starts out the episode wandering through the woods, apparently, looking for Locke, coming back, he has to be found completely disheveled.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've gone out on more treacherous hunts for Pokemon than he was out doing, and tries to oversee the worst funeral of all time. Goes
Shallow
like,
grave on a beach,
I need
man.
to, and what is he saying that he needs to stay awake for? He's just like, I need to lead. No, one, you don't.
Really?
And two, what do you think you're doing here?
Yeah.
You're like the producer that shows up and like, oh, what if we, to justify your job.
Yeah. You're the producer who walks on set is like, when Sayid points that gun at Locke, he should cock the hammer, right?
Cock the hammer.
Make sure we know he means business.
There's no hammer on that gun. None.
Yeah, I mean, and then he gets shrugged and falls asleep. Just the worst in this episode. And he is supposed to be our hero.
Yeah. Carter, what do you think?
There were a few in this episode who I thought could have been lost forever.
Sure,
you have Hurley screaming at a baby.
Aw.
You know, you've got that.
You put him in contention for that.
You've got that morbid little child, and then you realize, no, he's trying to process. I'm on board with that.
Well, yeah.
Jack's a great answer,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, I'm stealing your thunder on this one because the CIA, the moment they're like, no, we need them to blow this shit up, I'm like, hold on, folks.
Excellent
answer.
answer.
I thought this is 2004. We're supposed to be changing hearts and minds, and you're not trying to change hearts and minds here.
That is such a good answer, Carter. I love that answer.
Anyway, who's your lost forever?
I'm going with a pair up. Yeah, Jack and Kate, just the two of them actually. Like, I think if you cut out anything they did in the episode, that everything that happens in the episode still happens.
Because they don't save John Locke from getting hit by a bullet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jack
if anything,
tackling Locke doesn't change anything
No.
for what happens with him and Shannon and Sayid. Like, and for a big chunk of it, the two of them are just, not in it. So, like, they're there in, like, the climax of the episode.
to bear
There.
witness,
Yeah.
really.
So, like, that's why I'm lost forevering the two of them, because they just didn't do anything. It's like, okay, you never need the C plot in a Lost episode. The C plot's always comic relief of some sort. Like, so, like, the baby crying thing. Like, to say you didn't need that, well, of course you didn't need that. That's there to make what is an incredibly heavy episode not as heavy. So you do need it because it lowers the tension a little bit. But like Kate and Jack, I feel like you didn't need him. You can get the key stolen from him without his involvement. That's the biggest thing that Jack contributed, was getting the key stolen from him, and he didn't have to do anything. He just had to take a nap.
Well, yeah, you could literally just have him going through you could have him in less than Sawyer was in and going, where's the key? Who
Right.
took the key? Where's Locke? He must have taken the key.
Right. You open the episode with him collapsing, Kate, like, fireman carrying him back to the thing. He's asleep because she doesn't even have to convince him to take a nap. He's actually passed out. Just throws him in his tent. Then she fucks off somewhere. The rest of the episode happens. The next time he wakes up is close to the end of the thing. He's like, oh my God, the key got robbed because I was asleep for 6 hours. And then Sayid, like, overhears that and he's like, I bet Shannon did it. And then he runs off and it's fine. So that's it. Kate and Jack. Easy targets, but whatever. I don't give a fuck. Nick.
Yes.
Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for joining us here on Lost on Lost. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
I would love to, just say, go back and watch or listen to some previous episodes of Lost on Lost, because Adam, you consistently say, as always, my co-host JP, but JP's not here, which makes you a liar, not unlike John Locke. And I just want everybody to know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's fair. Wow. I'm gonna say it the next time. I'm gonna say it when JP's back. Speaking of lying about JP being here, Carter, thank you to you as well for taking the time
glad
out of
to
your
be
day
here.
to
Glad
come
to
by.
help.
Keep the show on the rails a little bit.
Glad to have a positive male influence, there to raise these kids right, listening along,
Sure.
Not everyone runs away from you kids. Some of us stay.
The work trip is over, like, officially, and we will be talking a little bit more about it in our next episode and at a future date, probably sometime in mid-March. If those of you out there have had questions about the work trip, they'll be answered. JP and I will talk about it. What's the opposite of ad nauseum? Because we're going to talk about it only just very, very briefly.
Briefly, I think is
We'll just go over a couple of things about it, just so to sort of satisfy people's curiosity.
Adam.
Yeah,
I mean, I won't be here, but what are you guys going to watch next time?
that's a great question. If you're trying to be lost with us, please check us out next time. We will be talking about maternity leave, featuring everyone's favorite brand new mama, Claire Littleton. And if we can get the logistics all worked out, we may have a very special guest or two joining us for that one. So make sure to check it out. And that's it. Thank you to you, the audience, for tuning in. Thank you to Nick for taking the time. Thank you to Carter for taking the time as well.
I'm Carter.
I'm Adam.
Do you have any idea what's going on this show?
No.
Neither do I.
Lost on Lost is produced and edited by me and JP.
We wish to acknowledge that we live, work, and produce our show on occupied land.
Burbank, California is located on the traditional tribal lands of the Tongva, Chumash, Kizh, and Fernandino Tataviam peoples.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin is located on the traditional tribal lands of the Peoria, Potawatomi, Miama, and Ho-Chunk peoples.
And Lost was produced in Hawaii on the lands of the Kanaka Maoli.
Visit native-land.ca to learn more about the land you live and work on.
You can engage with us on IG, Facebook, and Twitter at Lost on Lost 1.
You can also email us at wearelostonlost@gmail.com or support us with dollar monies at coffee.com/wearelostonlost.
Thanks to Lostpedia and its community of contributors, Danny Schmitz, random.org, and as always, you the listeners for tuning in.
We're hosted at Podbean. You can hear us there or wherever you get your podcasts, except MySpace. We're not on MySpace.
Yet.